The nomination period was around 1 month that ended on 3rd of February. Starting from the 6th of February, members were able to vote electronically and continue to be able to vote electronically. On the 6th of February, we also opened the proxy appointment process, so where members can appoint proxies. That appointment process finished 48 hours, so 2 days ago. And the proxies are able to vote later on this morning when announced by the election chair. And members' online voting will close today at 2:30 p.m. local time in Melbourne. So, all APNIC members are able to vote, but the voting must be done by corporate contacts or contacts with voting rights, and by the duly appointed proxies. The numbers of vote that each member has are determined by the membership tiers. These are the tiers and the corresponding number of votes. So I mentioned the nomination period, so only corporate contacts can make nomination through the APNIC 49 website. So the nomination period, as I mentioned earlier, started on the 6th of January and ended on the 3rd of February. So with our full electronic voting system, we use the Big Pulse voting system, and corporate contacts and contacts with voting rights have been able to vote online and continue to be able to vote online, which will end this afternoon at 2:30 p.m. local time, Melbourne. So all corporate contacts can appoint a proxy to vote on behalf of a member. If you appoint a proxy, then you are not able to exercise your own right. Proxy appointment started on the 6th of February and ended 2 days ago, as I mentioned, on Wednesday morning. And proxies will be able to vote when the election chair opens it for voting shortly, and will end at 2:30 p.m. this afternoon. The results will be declared this afternoon at approximately 3:30 p.m. today. So when the announcement is made by the election chair will also disclose any notice of any disputes and the resolution of the dispute, and also any communication that the election chair has with the independent scrutineers regarding any anomaly or issue. So this is how the election results will be announced, and this is consistent with the announcement that we've made in the past. And so the announcement will be the number of votes that each candidate has received in the order from highest to the lowest. So the first three candidates with the highest votes will be declared elected under this election. The election chair will also announce the total number of votes received for this election. So for this election, the APNIC Executive Council has appointed Julie Hammer as the election chair. The Executive Council has also appointed Andre Gelderblom and Connie Chan as election officers, and George Odagi and Tom Doe as election tellers. The election chair in turn appoints the independent scrutineers. So for this election, the election chair has appointed Madhvi from APNIC and Nicholas from RIPE NCC as the election scrutineers. So they're independent staff, not connected with any candidates. If there are any disputes, any complaints regarding the conduct of the election, they must be lodged in writing with the election chair at the conference here, and be lodged no later than 1 hour before the scheduled declaration of the election. That means 2:30 p.m. is the deadline for the lodgement of any disputes, and they must be in writing, and they can only be lodged by either the nominees or the members through the authorised voting representative. So this is very important. The election chair has the discretion to resolve the dispute at her full discretion. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Now I'd like to request Julie Hammer, our election chair, to come and start the election procedures. And I think I'll have to ask Cams to go down.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie Hammer, and I'm honoured to be appointed by the APNIC Executive Council as the election chair for this election. There are 8 nominees for this election, and I'm going to invite these nominees to come up on the stage one by one to talk for 2 minutes each, to share their vision with you and introduce themselves to you. We will be using a timer to keep track of the time. In the order of their nominations as they were received, the first nominee is Cams Yun, and I'd like to invite Cams to the stage.
Thank you. So hello everyone, my name is Cam Young. So I want to introduce a little bit of background in case you don't know me well. So I'm currently a principal network architect of Akamai, which is one of the largest CDN and friendly CDN. So in my company, I'm doing interconnection peering, capacity building, delivering the content to the end users. So I started my career in the internet industry since 2001, where I worked as a IP engineer in Asia Global Crossing, helping the network to build out the infrastructure in the whole Asia. So that's why, since that time, I'm connected not only in Hong Kong, but also starting to grow my connections in Asia. So with the background of this network infrastructure build, I start to understand a lot of internet infrastructure, different internet landscape in different countries across the whole Asia. And of course, I make a lot of friends in this community. So in terms of my community involvement, I have been attending Apricot and APNIC since a long time. So I looked at the whiteboard last night that I started to see where I started the Apricot is 2002 in Bangkok. That is my first Apricot. So that is since now I think it's 18 years. Of course, I don't join all the Apricot, but I think I joined most of them. So and I've been involved in like the startup of the Hong Kong NOC, and a lot of been involved and participate in a lot of the different NOC in the region to helping to collaborate and share knowledge across the Asia. So I've been working in the APNIC EC in the past 4 years. So that helped me to understand how APNIC as an organization to work and how to serve the members better. So at the end, I think I just want to thank everyone that who support me, and I will try to continue to try my best to serve the members. Thank you.
Thank you, Cams. The next nominee is Paul Vinton. Unfortunately, Paul is not here today, but you can see his details on the election website. The next nominee then is Archie Atienza, and I'd like to invite Archie to the stage.
Hi, good morning. Archie Atienza from Philippines. A little bit of background. I work for Globe Telecom, dual role, handling infrastructure and product. Also, I'm part of the board of the Internet Society Philippines, and as well as the current chair of the Philippine Network Operators Group. This is my first time to be nominated, first time in Melbourne, and first time to say something here. So I think first time, something new is always good, something different, new perspectives, new opportunities. Chose to be part of this one, not because I'm a bit obliged to, because of the experience I learned, but because I think I can make a difference, I can help. So either way, whether I get elected or not, it's still a win-win for me and for everybody, because you get to work with the community. And more importantly, I get to do what I like. I get to do what I really am good. And you get to have fun. And I think in having fun, you need to put all your smiles together because we're going to do a selfie. Hey, including everyone. 1, 2, 3, smile. One more thing, since everybody knows you need to have backup, so we need to have another one on the other phone. Thanks and congrats to everybody.
Thank you, Archie. The next nominee is Jay Morris, and unfortunately Jay's not here today either. His details are also on the election website. So the nominee following that is Suman Ahmed Sabir. I'd like to invite Suman to the stage.
Good morning. I'm Suman Ahmed Sabir. I'm presently working as a CTO for Atom Limited, Bangladesh, which is one of the largest network service provider, also internet service provider. We serve ISPs and mobile operators for bandwidth and all kind of connectivity. Prior to joining here, I started my career in the ISP industry as a network engineer, worked as a CTO, CEO in ISPs, and that actually helped me to work together with ISP Association and interact with the government, interact with all the stakeholders related to the internet industry. And I'm fortunate that I get close contact with the NOC community early and involved with SANOG, BIDNOG, and all the regional NOCs, participated as a speaker, instructor, committee members, and I'm the founder chair of BIDNOG, and I'm proud to be the founder member of BDIX, the only internet exchange in Bangladesh, the large internet exchange in Bangladesh, and also the founder chair for BDCert. We thought about security in 2008, and we set it up. I'm also kind of involved with the internet governance area, and fortunately served as a MAG member of IGF from 2016 to 2019. Apart from that, I think APNIC plays an important role in the region, and I'm fortunate that I'm serving as a APNIC policy chair for the last few years, and we'll love to serve as EC, and the role of EC is very important for the organization and for the community. I hope with my experience and knowledge, I can better serve there, and I need support for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shumon. The next nominee is Jamalul Izza. I'd like to invite Jamalul to the stage.
Good morning to you all. Let me introduce myself. I am Jamalul Izza, since I have been chairman of APG Indonesia ISP Association, which also near for Indonesia. First of all, I would like to extend my thanks and gratitude to all parties that have nominated me and to all friends in APNIC to make this election possible. Since 2 years ago, Indonesia has become active in participating in EC board. Our decision is that we would like to share all complicated and solutions out of internet industry, which now is serving more than 117 million users by more than 500 ISP. We hope that this completes along with its solution my ancient knowledge based within the APNIC community, and its benefit might be shared throughout all member APNIC. With Benjamin term is easy expiring, we hope that we still can continue our interest of sharing this Indonesia internet experience by having other Indonesia internet industry. But person in the next EC board member, and our intention is that this is for the benefit of all APNIC members. Once again, thank you for my nomination. I humbly request all of your APNIC members to vote in favor of my nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamalu. The next nominee is Pankaj Chaturvedi. Please, Pankaj, thank you.
Good morning, friends and colleagues. My name is Pankaj Chaturvedi. I come from India. First, I would like to congratulate Apricot and APNIC in conducting such a wonderful event here, despite having such issues which is impacting so many events. So thank you, Paul, thank you, Dr. Philip, and everybody who was involved. So I'm an engineering graduate, passed out in 1989 from an Indian university. I started my career as maintaining mainframe systems for the Indian defense establishment, where I was the Unix administrator and a hardware engineer. For last 20 years, I am associated with the India internet industry, where I've had varied roles, like sales, operations, network design, and finance, basically handling P&L. My current role is I'm the business head for an internet company who has a long distance license, managing the international roaming, long distance, and the internet business. I am also thankful to my colleagues here who nominated me into the ICANN NOMCOM. In addition to that, I am closely associated with various NOGs. I was instrumental in organizing Apricot, SANOGs, and iNOGs in India. Here I am seeking your support in my nominations for the APNIC EC elections, which I feel with my varied experience I can contribute immensely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pankaj. The final nominee is Swastihik Gopinathan. Unfortunately, he's unable to attend the meeting today, but his details also are on the website. So thank you to all the nominees for your speeches. And I'd like to finally remind everyone that voting ends at 2:30 today, and that's UTC plus 11, about 14:30, 2:30 local time, and remind everyone to get your votes in by then. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the election chair. I just was told that Craig forgot to mention that we do have the technical support personnel from Big Pulse, the company that provides the online voting system, available to answer any technical questions during the day, if there are any questions. Right. Okay, thank you. If there are no questions, then we will move on to the next presentation, which is from Paul.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. Good morning, everyone. I hope you've had a great week so far. This is the last day, and thanks for joining here. So I've got a report from the APNIC Secretariat of the activities that we've been undertaking for the last year, fairly much in the standard form. So I'm starting with a few statistics. The membership of APNIC is reaching 8,000 direct members as of the end of last year. This chart also shows the number of organisations served by NIRs, and you can see that there's around 17,000 in total organisations around the year, network operators who around the region, network operators who are building the internet and are served by APNIC. These charts show our activities, fundamental registration allocation activities. They're sort of fairly steady. The one that's increasing quite dramatically is the IPv4 transfers in the bottom left. And I suppose as the demand for IPv6, IPv4 continues, and until IPv6 takes over, we can expect those transfers to keep rising as time goes on. We're taking a look here at the last /8 pool. This is the 103/8 block, which of course started with 100% available back around 2010, and it's been consumed ever since then at a fairly steady rate. The green bars show the remaining space. Now it's under 20%. The blue line shows the consumption per year, which peaked back in 2016, but there have been a couple of policy changes, and most recently we've moved from a maximum allocation size of /22 to /23, so that is resulting in the reduction in consumption over the last year. And that was just part of the year, so I suppose we'll see the full effect of that policy change during the course of this year. This is the chart that comes from APNIC Labs, from Jeff's analysis of the remaining IPv4 pool, and it shows that really all of the RARs are approaching the bottom in terms of the remaining v4 address space. We have RIPE NCC and ARIN who've reached full exhaustion, more or less. APNIC has reached its last /8, or its last soft landing policy, and APNIC is the light blue line, which has been sort of steadily trending, steadily going down over the last, the course of this entire graph. If you look closely, you'll see that in the last year again, the rate of consumption has reduced. So although the trend line here is approaching the bottom at the end of 2020, if we project that forward, we'll see that we've actually got, on current consumption, we've actually got a couple more years left of IPv4 consumption. We're tracking also the number of members, the proportion of the APNIC membership with different resource types. The one we're keeping a close eye on here is the number with, or the percentage who are holding IPv6 addresses. That's reaching 64% now, and that's something that's progressively trending upwards. Now, you may have heard during the course of this week that at the Secretariat we're restructuring our development activities around the disciplines of product management, which is an approach to the entire life cycle of the products and services that APNIC is developing and offering to the membership and community. It's a user-centric and agile approach which brings together members of the APNIC staff from across the organisation to really focus on the entire life cycle of projects and products and services that we are developing for the community. We've got, in the last year, we stood up 3 different cross-functional product teams for registry membership and information services, and some support teams, and we're doing more of this in 2020 to complete the product management sort of transition across the organisation. So, for instance, the APNIC Academy is a product group as well as of this year. And just moving on, starting with membership products, the main membership product we have, the gateway to all of those products is MyAPNIC, and we've finished the integration of the single sign-on, so that, as you may have seen with this event, we've got integration of event registration and the Academy and some of the information products into the MyAPNIC system, so it's becoming more of a portal for access into various services. And of course the election platform is integrated there as well. We've been implementing Prop 125 also this year. This team has been looking after the IRT and contact validation. We've sent out a good 1,000 or so emails. Not a bad confirmation rate of 62% for that outreach, but we've got a fair amount more to do, obviously, many thousands of contacts which are being validated. That's also being extended to IRT objects and Abuse C contacts in the database. Now, something that we were asked to pay some attention to as a result of the last APNIC survey is the possibility of reclamation of unused IPv4 address space. And we do have a fairly large proportion of IPv4 space which is in the APNIC pools but is not routed, and so while some of that space may be in use, some of it is likely to be a candidate for reclamation and for reallocation to members. So that was, as I said, that was a question in the 2018 survey, and we had a 57% support for that activity from APNIC members. So it's a priority for this year, and we started that last year looking at how we would be identifying the holders of that apparently or possibly unused address space, how we would be going about making contact and encouraging the holders to either return that address space to APNIC if it's not needed, or at least put it onto the market so that it goes back into circulation, and in that way it can get back out to the APNIC community. Now, the registry product group includes WHOIS, of course. It includes RDAP, the Registration Data Access Protocol. And so we're doing a lot of work on RDAP as the sort of modern way to provide registration data through, you know, an API, a programmatic, more structured, more modern way of providing that data. Of course, WHOIS dates back to 1983, so it's about time that we were looking at the next generation. And that RDAP is being deployed to the cloud so that it's much more accessible. We're looking at, in particular, one of the benefits of RDAP is to be able to integrate various registration databases, and we're doing a lot of work with the NIRs. And I want to thank the NIRs for the collaboration we've had over the last year in ensuring that the entire APNIC regional WHOIS data, registration data, can be accessible through RDAP. There's some work that's going on with the other RIRs as well, particularly with the Engineering Coordination Group, on improving the RDAP profile, which is in use by the RIRs, so that we really have a consistent approach across all of the RIRs to the format, the standards, the conventions of the registration data there. WHOIS, of course, we're continuing to work with WHOIS. It's still the major way of delivering registration data. Again, working with the NIRs to make sure that we've got a consistent approach to the registration of resources across the region. Quite a few improvements there. We're doing a bit of automation with API specifications, again for NIR integration, doing some cleanup, again in preparation for RDAP as being the way that we can deliver a much better, consistent registration service to the region. The other service that we regard as one of the registry products is RPKI, of course, and RPKI is the way to use cryptographic security, to put cryptographic security essentially against registration records so that those things can be validated more effectively. Again, working quite hard with the NIRs to make sure that the NIRs can provide RPKI services in their respective economies. We're working to implement the new policy proposal 132, which is about providing a ROA, a route origin authorization, specially for unused address space under AS0. That's a standard, that's come through the IETF and has been approved for implementation at APNIC. We're doing some work in the IETF as well with defining something called a resource tagged attestation, which is another way of using RPKI records to sign objects like letters of authority and similar things to make better use and more extensive use of RPKI certificates. We're doing a lot of work on promoting RPKI. It's a component of the manners process, I suppose, which is being promoted by the Internet Society as a very good practice for securing routing. And we've been doing a lot of training, technical assistance, a lot of presentations. You might recall that particularly at APNIC 48, there was a lot of attention on RPKI across the program of that meeting. We also have a new now called Routing Security SIG, which was held for the first time yesterday. And we've got this campaign with the Tiger to encourage ROAs to be registered, and there's a pretty good uptake of the use of ROAs and the registration of ROAs. 154% increase, for instance, in IPv6 coverage with route origin authorizations last year. and 75% improvement in IPv4 as well. The next registry product news here is about resource quality check, which used to be called resource quality assurance, but it's actually about analysing address blocks to make sure that we can understand routing status and history, route filtering, email and blacklisting, and geolocation errors. And that's all about the fact that particularly as resources being recycled through the transfer market, we would like to understand which blocks and which addresses have got some history of misuse or different factors which may make them problematic for those members who are receiving them. So for instance, we get a lot of geolocation errors that are reported to us as a result of previous use of IP address blocks in different parts of the world, and we try to help members to correct that information, to correct route filtering and blacklists and so on. And there's an information product called NetOx, the Network Operators Toolbox, which includes widgets within that interface to provide you with the data about the history and the use of your IP address blocks. So that's moving on to information products now. The first of the information products is something that we call the Internet Directory, which is an interactive method for browsing and comparing resource registration information. So it's the standard information about IPv4, IPv6, ASN allocations around the region, but it's also including additional information such as the VisAs visualization of AS interconnections, which you see in the top left there. Also the IPv6 capability stats that come from APNIC Labs, and you can do things like compare the capability in your economy with a sub-region or a region or with another economy to see how IPv6 deployment is going. There are a couple of other information products, and if you've participated in the product management process, then you may have helped with providing user input into some of these products, and if you have, then thank you very much. But that's the way we're trying to bring these products into existence with better suitability for your users. So Dash is a dashboard for AS Health, which uses information from the APNIC HoneyNet to advise you or inform you if your network or your blocks are the source of abuse traffic that is detected by the HoneyNet. And NetOx is based on work that we've done with RipeStat to bring RipeStats into use in our region, and that's where you'll find the widgets for the resource quality check functions. Okay, moving on, technical infrastructure. Quite a lot of the work that we've been doing in the last year and planning into the future is virtualization and distribution of our services into different cloud platforms. So we're saving a little bit on the sort of capital and maintenance expenses of running our own servers and having to distribute those around the region, and we're taking advantage, like everyone is, of the CDNs and the opportunity for virtualization. So the RDAP service, for instance, will be distributed well through Google Cloud and allow you to get much more rapid and responsive access to that service. Moving on now to a bit of communications. We've got the APNIC blog really providing a constant feed of information to the community. A good 30 or so posts every month that go out. About half of them are guest posts, and we're always looking for more content from the community to be able to publish for your information. That's averaging around 50,000 hits per month consistently through the year, and Tony's team is doing a great job in maintaining that and proving its worth to the community. Okay, moving on. Training, of course, is one of the sort of ongoing traditional internet development activities from APNIC. It's continuing at a pretty high rate. So the stats here show that we've had, in the last year, we've had 69 different face-to-face training events servicing 30 economies in the region, 5,757 training days in total, nearly 2,000 trainees. Now we're scaling up by using community trainers, and for any community trainers in the audience, thank you very much for your help, because this is our means to get the training that APNIC offers out more widely in the community. We're actually able to use more community trainers this year. We reduced the training budget or the training expenditure in the last year, but maintained the same level of training delivery as a result of using the services of community trainers. And the other important thing there is the use of the APNIC Academy, which now has over 5,000 users. And you can use the Academy for online courses, certified online courses, webinars, and virtual labs, which allow you to do hands-on exercises on genuine images from Cisco and other vendors. Now, the APNIC Academy, again, it started at the beginning of this year with about 1,600 users, and we tripled that during the course of the year. So there's more than 5,000 users. We've deployed new courses on IPv6 fundamentals, on IPv6 address planning, which has been in development and I think launched this week. We have new labs. We have something that's pretty cool is access to EduRoam. So if you're an APNIC member and an Academy user, then you can roam the world and access the net using EduRoam. The other thing that the Academy platform allows is a pretty efficient way to do multilingual content. So we've got, in addition to English, we've got 8 other languages being supported on the Academy, and that is going to be increasing as we add more languages in future. Okay, APNIC conferences such as the one that we're at the moment. We had 2 last year, of course, and attracted a good 1,200 attendees from across the region. We're doing new stuff like hackathons, which are pretty popular. We're attracting quite a few other meetings from within the region and around the world. We've been hosting the first technical colloquia at our meetings. They've now become a sort of security track as a regular feature of the conferences. The fellowships are going quite well. For instance, at APNIC 48, we had 52 fellows and a 50-50 gender ratio for fellows, which we're pretty proud of, and also bringing youth fellows as well to try and encourage the next generation of participation in this whole process. This week, like last week, we had a careers BOF, so for next generation participants, trying to help with and promote some networking around career development. Technical community activities, I mean, we've got 25 NOGs around the region now that we support, and that number is increasing as new NOGs are formed, and some of the sort of nascent NOGs are reinvigorated. Root servers being installed around the region, still at a fairly low rate, but where we have a request or a case for new root servers, for instance, FRoot in Fiji, with RIPE NCC, 4 K-root servers installed over the last year, and it's quite nice that we've made a new agreement with the WIDE project in Japan for working on accelerating the MRoot deployment around the region. So M is the only root operator through WIDE in the Asia Pacific region, so it's really nice to be able to work together to improve the distribution of M. R&E networks. We're working internationally with the Jeon network on providing training at APAN meetings. We're helping, Jamie's co-chairing APAN's security working group. We've worked together with AI3 and School of the Internet in Asia, research and education training through Asia Connect as well. So the end-to-end community is still very important to the APNIC region, and we're trying to do what we can to support those members of our community. Now, IPv6 has traditionally been about the highest level of demand from members for training and support and information. We're still promoting and helping with IPv6 deployment. The APNIC Labs statistics for IPv6 capability around the world show that Asia Pacific is better than average, and we're reaching nearly 30% of capability at the end user level for access to IPv6 or use of IPv6 in the Asia Pacific, which is pretty good. But there's still 70% to go. We're doing specifically IPv6 training quite actively. We've got the 2 courses that I mentioned on the APNIC Academy, using the blog to bring new views and information about IPv6, working with our community trainers on IPv6 technical assistance where we can. So IPv6 is popular, but actually security is more popular. So in the last few years, we found through the APNIC survey that our members are more and more concerned about security. And in our case, I mean, there's a lot of different dimensions to security, but in the case of our community and APNIC's ability to help, it's all about infrastructure security, about routing and addressing security. So this is where we're really seeing a lot of interest in mitigating routing security problems through RPKI. We're networking with the community through the first group, holding webinars. There's the HoneyNet, and those of you who are assisting with the HoneyNet, thank you very much for that. And of course the blog is a way to publish more useful information about security challenges that we face. So moving on to the sort of engagement side, I mean, APNIC spends quite a lot of time trying to inform and update different parts of the sort of global community and the regional, what we call the multi-stakeholder community, outside of the technical operators who we are serving directly. We're very interested in making sure that, that governments and intergovernmental organisations, or IGOs, around the world, and particularly around the region, have got a good understanding of what APNIC does and the importance of some of the issues that we deal with. So it's ASEAN, it's APT, the Asia Pacific Telecommunity, which is an ITU, which exists under the ITU framework. We were at the Global Symposium for Regulators that was held by the ITU in Vanuatu last year. Things like the Singapore International Cyber Week, the Pacific Regional Policy Forum, which was held in Tonga, and APEC Tel 60, which marked 10 years of engagement by APNIC in the APEC Tel group. And we've spent most of that time promoting IPv6 awareness in the APEC Tel group, and more these days, as I said before, on security, which is becoming everyone's concern. Under the Internet Governance banner, I mean, that's a reference to the process of managing the growth and development of the internet across the community, linking together between the technical community, which we all occupy, with the governmental community, with the broader community. So we've supported the Asia Pacific Regional IGF in the last year. That was held outside of the traditional APNIC region, but it was held in Vladivostok in Russia. They were selected as the successful host for APR IGF last year. This year it's coming up in Nepal. It's very good to see national IGF events. So this is where a national community, often with the involvement of the network operators groups, would be coming together to work together and to try and improve and inform internet management, internet policy, government approach to internet in different countries. So after the regional IGF was held in Vanuatu a couple of years ago, there was a national Vanuatu IGF which was formed, which is a very good development for that small country. So there are national IGFs in India, Bangladesh, Australia, New Zealand, quite a few countries these days, Japan as well. And one of the activities around the national IGFs is often the schools of internet governance. So there's another channel there for educating and for reaching out to the community, and often to the youth community, to try and prompt some interest in this rather esoteric sort of topic of internet governance policy and management. And of course, there's a global IGF that happens each year. The APNIC Foundation, I often describe it as a fundraising arm for APNIC. Since APNIC was started many years ago, we've been spending roughly about 20% of the budget on training and technical development, technical assistance and so on. That's never been enough, and the idea of the APNIC Foundation is to be able to attract more resources without relying on member funds to do more training and technical assistance which it seems is just continually in demand around our region. So the APNIC Foundation is part of APNIC, but it operates with an independent board, and there's now 6 board members who are really esteemed experts in internet development from different parts of the region, and APNIC continues to sort of underwrite the foundation while it is getting up to speed. But in the last 2.5 years since the foundation was started, it's managed to raise about $1 million Australian per year for this work, and that's been a pretty good start. So things like training activities in Papua New Guinea. You probably recall that we had about a $500,000 project where we used a lot of assistance from community trainers and external consultants to run a whole series of training workshops in PNG before the APEC meeting was started. Quite a lot of work being done on encouraging the formation of certs, so Tonga, Vanuatu, PNG, and more to come, and other workshops in Southeast Asia, so workshops in Myanmar and so forth. So again, these are activities that really do directly serve the APNIC membership. So I think we're all interested in a more secure and stable internet to be run, for instance, in PNG or in a cert that is operating well at a national level. So I'm really very confident these activities are serving the interests of APNIC members, but it's also fortunate that we're able to do more of this without just relying continually on increased APNIC member funding. Okay, APNIC Labs, the chart on the left there is probably fairly familiar, but it's showing you the steady rise of IPv6 capability in the region, now very close to 29% at a regional level. But Labs is involved with a lot of other work, particularly these days with ICANN, with the ICANN Root Server Advisory Committee and the SSAC, the Security and Stability Advisory Committee, working on DNSSEC, DNS security and DNS analysis and measurement issues in particular. We're working as usual closely with the other 4 RIRs around the world. It's very nice to see the new CEO of APNIC here this week. We've provided quite a bit of support to APNIC over the last year as well, but we have coordination with the RIRs through the different coordination groups for engineering and communications, registration services. We do a number of staff exchanges with RIRs each year, and we had several of those in the last year as well. Here's a nice new chart of all of our external engagement activities. These are being run in a very systematic way to try and make the best use of the travels and the external engagement that APNIC is undertaking. And this shows you we had 248 different engagements on the list for last year. Nearly a third of those are in training as usual, but there's quite a few other activities which are all tracked here. For instance, 28 of those engagements were with NOGs around the region. So that's APNIC staff attending NOGs and providing training and providing updates and reaching out to members and so forth. So all of that detail is being tracked pretty systematically. So just finishing up here, behind the scenes at the Secretariat, a fair bit of work going on our internal systems. We're using SSO, single sign-on, with secure 2-factor authentication for internal systems that are particularly sensitive. But we're using some of the new, I guess, cloud service providers for things like expense management, for travel bookings, for HR management. Salesforce is in use. That's where the engagement charts that you saw just now came from, and that's all coming together under SSO. Of course, the Big Pulse election platform is not only an external service, but it integrates with APNIC's internal member management as well. On the finance side, we know and have known for a long time that payments from some APNIC economies can be difficult. We've got online partial payments now and credit card payments to try and cope with the limits that are imposed on credit cards, and also if you have Western Union available to you locally, then you can provide local currency payment of APNIC invoices. HR is fairly active. We've got a turnover of around 10%. Last year that was 7 permanent vacancies. which were refilled. We're putting a lot of work into staff onboarding to make sure that we've got the right people at APNIC. We have internal ISO certified quality management system, and that underwent a successful 3-year recertification last year. And of course, workplace health and safety, WH&S, is also an important part these days of running a good, successful, safe workplace. And you've seen a lot of us here in Melbourne this week, more than usual because it's only a short couple of hour flight down from Brisbane. But there's the team. As of this year, we all got together for a staff conference to look at our planning and activities for the coming year. So on behalf of this group, I thank you all very much for your support of APNIC. I'm happy to answer any questions either now or in the course of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And for a while I thought, which cricket team is that? As usual, any questions on this? We do have a short open mic here on the Secretariat activities so far. So when you come to the mic, please do identify yourself, and then up you go. Thank you.
Brajesh Jain from ISP Association India. Thank you, Paul, for detailed report. I was curious to know there was a 5/8s which are not routed as per the presentation. We know that each /8 is about 16 million IP addresses. Now, I wanted to know, do we know that who those IP addresses have or not? Number one. Number two, can we make them or are we making them unroutable? There is a lot of discussion happened during this time. And my second part would be, in terms of international engagement, while there has been a good engagement, I would request EC to consider that more community members could also be allowed to participate into other RIR activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother J. You want to answer the unrouted? I think I'll add to the unrouted bit is, unrouted means it's just not visible on the internet. It is no guarantee that it is not being used. So they still might be using it. So there is no, reason to believe that they are not using it right now. And, Secretary will follow up and see how we can look into inside of that. So, and there are a lot of addresses, V4, that are not visible on the internet today, but are known to be genuinely in use inside those networks. So, yeah.
If you permit me, when I checked with PTI, they say that there are no addresses which are not in the RIR system. Now, these 5/8s, are they in RIR system in APNIC or not in RIR system? So far as I consider, since we do not know the owners, they are not in the, while RIR, APNIC knows them, but they are not in the registry system. There is no record of them.
Right. APNIC has got, I think, around 42 /8s in our inventory, registered under APNIC and managed by APNIC. And of those, we have counted around 5 /8s which have been allocated. They are registered, they're not routed. And as Gaurav said, I mean, being unrouted doesn't necessarily mean they're unused. But the effort, which is not a trivial effort, is to be in contact with, and often they're historical and quite early registrations, to be in contact with the holders of those registrations to try and establish whether or not the holders are using the address space. In many cases, I mean, we're sure that in many cases that address space will have been forgotten or will have fallen out of use, and it can be recycled. Now, whether or not it's reclaimed into the APNIC pool, we don't know, because once someone realises that they have an asset like that, they may or may not be interested to return it. But if it is available then to be put onto the market by that address holder, then that's better than having it unused completely. So yeah, the five /8s approximately are within the APNIC pools, and that's what we're focusing on in the next year to see whether we can get in touch with the holders of that address space and get it back into use. It's as you know, obviously, it's a very substantial amount of address space, but we do know that a fair amount of it is also in use in a private sense, in that it's being used with networks that are actually not internet connected, and that's also regarded as a legitimate use.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brajesh.
And the second part, if you could, more participation in other regions. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. Any other suggestions or? If not, then we can go for an earlier coffee break. Reminder to do your voting because we have only today to do it. And then we'll come back here at 11:30. So you have roughly 52 minutes for a break. Unless we want to bring something forward. I mean, we can bring the policy SIG report forward, but they're not ready yet. So, which one? You can do the treasury report? I think we can do the treasury report, that is a short one. So, if that is okay, then we can continue. Should we do the treasury report? I think we should. Okay, then, Kenny?
Good morning, Kenny Huang, APNIC EC and Treasurer. Sorry to interrupt your coffee break, and so I will run in quickly for the Treasury report. So as tradition, the Treasury report was split into two parts. The first part was year 2019 financial report. Second part will be 2020 budget and activity plan. So starting from the first one, so here is a summary of the all activity, including operating surplus of 291,000, exceeding budget by 47,000, and operating revenue is 92,000 above budget. Expense 46,000 above budget. Equity position increased by 1,904,000. Roughly around 7% of the equity position increase. Fair value surplus on financial asset is 2,169,000. And financial stability measure at 16.05 months of operating expense. So we have successful audit outcome. So here come to a more detailed review on revenue from the operation. And the actual revenue from operation in year 2019 will be operating revenue is 234,184 Australian dollars. And the total revenue plus our investment income, total revenue will be $23,286,000. So equivalent to the budget variance compared to how we budget for year 2019, that will be almost 0%. That's consistent with our original budget. So expense from operation in actual year 2019 will be total expense will be $22,974,000. And compared to our budget in year 2019, also the budget variance was 0%. Year 2019 operating surplus will be our operating surplus combined total revenue versus total expense. Our operating surplus was 291,386 Australian dollars. So in total year 2019 financial performance, we have operating surplus as mentioned, $291,000. And we also have some fair value surplus on financial assets, $2,169,000. So total surplus for the year was $1,903,000. We break down different expense by different activity. The activity code was identified by the strategic plan as defined 4 years ago. So including serving members, regional development, global cooperation, and corporate. So majority cost was allocated for serving the member. Actually, the total amount will be equivalent to the expense report as mentioned. That's different classification into different categories, including the serving member. Total amount for serving member will be $11,268,000, and total regional development will be $8,242,000. Total corporation will be $2,413,000. And so the total expense still remain the same, $22,974,000. So statement of our financial position until year end of year 2019, our total asset was $45,684,000. Total liability will be $968,000. So our net asset on the total equity will be $30,724,000. So APNIC capital reserve, you can observe the majority of capital reserve stay in the financial asset. And the blue card stands for cash, and also we have remains partial reserve on the property. So that's a distribution from year 1998 until year 2019. Financial stability measure, the number of months of expense will be covered by equity would be 16.05 months. That's in terms of the total months of expense will be covered by our net equity. Our membership growth until the end of year 2019, we have 7,776 members. That's a membership growth distribution. A majority of members still remain on a very small member and small membership. That's membership by different economy. You can see majority come from Australia, Hong Kong, Bangladesh, and someone else. Audit, APNIC appoint new external auditor as per Executive Council policy in year 2019. Deloitte undertook the audit of year 2019 account, the first year of their 5-year term as APNIC auditor. So we have successful audit outcome. So go to the second part, year 2020 budget and activity plan. Our budget process in the year 2020 activity plan and priority list are driven by the input from either Executive Council strategic guidance and also APNIC existing operational commitment. We are based on the bottom-up, zero-based expense budgeting. So revenue derived from detailed analysis of membership database and income forecast. So our budget consideration in 2020, including the incorporation of 2020 activity plan. Also, we can see, if you want to see the detail, you can go to apnic.net/transparency. You can see all the detailed budget and activity plan that will be available according to our transparency policies. The budget in year 2020, the approved year 2020 budget include operating expenditure of Australian dollar $22,953,000, revenue of Australian dollar $24,869,000, operating surplus of Australian dollar $576,000. The capex capital expenditure requirement of Australian dollars $736,000. The budget revenue in the year 2020, including the membership fee, you can see the column on the covered by the red color. Year 2000, we have included membership fee and also some of the other investment fee, investment income. The total revenue from year 2000 will be $24,868,000. That will be about 6.9% increase compared to last year. The budget expense according to year 2020, total amount of budget expense was $293,000. That will be a 5.7% increase compared to last year. So operating surplus or deficit in our budget plan, operating surplus will be $576,210. The CAPEX expenditure on 2020, the budget for CAPEX will be $738,000. As Paul mentioned in the Secretariat report, we have another new strategic plan from 2020 to 2024, and the breakdown for our activity into different work streams. So including the membership work stream and registry work stream and development work stream, corporation information work stream, and capacity building work stream. So all the budget was recategorized into the 5 work streams, or that's a different allocation for different work streams. So that's pretty much of my financial report. If you want to see the detail, you can go to apnic.net/transparencies. I'm welcome for any question here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. We still have 10 minutes in this session, and the EC report won't fit in 10 minutes, but so we can do some, at least a quick Q&A on the financial report. So I see.
Akinori Maimuro, APNIC. Could you get back to the page 19, I think?
Okay. No. 19.
19.
This one?
Yeah, this is that.
Yeah.
I'd like to make clear that what is the meaning of the bottom-up zero-based expense budgeting?
Oh, okay. Basically, a lot of budgeting plan according to historical records, and basically all the APNIC activity was based on the zero-based expense budgeting. That means we have everything recalculated based on what we actually plan to do for this year.
Again, I don't really get it. So, can I reiterate, please?
Richard going to go into very specific explain.
Look, when we talk about zero-based budgeting, we're essentially saying we don't take what we did the year before and add on a percentage. We actually go back and look at individual budget line items, and where we know what the actual cost will be, we base it on that. So, a lot of organisations take, say, an expense item and they might add 2.5% for CPI. We actually look back to zero. We get all the directors and their teams to go through every item in the budget and input the correct amount for the year.
So making the budget by the compiling up the actual need, is that correct?
Actual needs, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thanks, Richard.
Aftab Siddiqui. That's on page number, I don't know, 10, yes. Okay. Expenses by activity. It says the member training actual, so budgeted was 2 million, and the actual expense was 1.8. Would you like to explain what happened there?
Go back to page 10. Sorry, page 10.
I have to have a good question, well observed. The most difficult recruiting that APNIC does is trainers, and we had at least 3 months of a training vacancy at APNIC during the recruitment process. It took a long time and a lot of work to find the training staff that we needed. So that resulted in an underspend on the expected salary for that staff, and also less training activity being based from the APNIC office. So the travel expenses that would have been assigned to that training area were less than expected. We were fortunately able to maintain the planned level of training though, so we used community trainers probably more than expected, and that reduces the cost as well. So that's your explanation for that underspend on training.
Okay, so just to add to that one is, then how do you explain the community engagement budget which was overspent?
Well, the community engagement it's a different line item, so it's a completely different factor, and I suppose it was we had more opportunities, more requests, more need for community engagement activities. There were a lot of NOG events last year, and it's difficult, I suppose, to predict which NOGs are going to be at the beginning of the year, which NOGs are actually going to be active and happening. You know, we often find that a NOG, a particular group will plan an annual meeting, but that meeting might not happen. They might plan two and they don't happen. So we sort of need to respond during the course of the year to the events that come up, and NOGs were pretty active this year. So I think, I mean, in one sense, it's a good sign that we actually had more call to do those community engagement activities than we expected.
I tend to agree on that point as well. But the thing is, I would emphasize strongly that remaining 200K would have made a lot of difference in the community, which was never spent through community trainers or through something else. And spending 150K extra on the community engagement, yes, it makes a lot of difference once you speak to people face to face, but the first one would have made a much bigger difference. Yeah, and just a last point is, since we are incorporated in Australia, every year ATO sends you a summary that where they spend your whole tax, right? I would request APNIC if they can do that where are you spending the chunk on a simple graph that where exactly the membership money is going.
Okay.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Aftab. Unless David is up for questioning there. No? Okay. I think we should go for the coffee break now. And we'll be back here at 11:30. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.